there, all you sleazy movie fans. It's your boy Sugar Pants here with another trashy treat. But first, I want to talk about a tasty treat for us all. Today's video is sponsored by Tragic Goon. Remember when you were a kid and you'd eat bowl after bowl after bowl of sugar-packed cereal during Saturday morning cartoons, and it gave you the jittery energy to watch more cereal commercials so you knew what to beg your parents for the next time you went grocery shopping? Well, now you've got type 2 adult onset diabetes and can't have that sugary slop anymore. Enter Tragic Goon! The cardboard and sawdust puffs come together with toxic, artificial flavors that kinda sorta, not really, taste like the childhood favorites your old-ass taste buds have completely forgotten. But now, there's way more fiber to help push out those complex middle-aged poops your doctor really seems concerned about. And with almost 2 whole servings per box, you'll be amazed at how much extra trash your recycling bin will be filled up every scheduled pickup day. So get yourself a box or 20 of Tragic Goon. Use promo code SugarPantsMomLovesDonkeys. Guys, is that really the promo code we're going to go with? Use promo code SugarPantsMomDoesDonkeyShows for 5% off any order of 20 or more boxes. Tragic Goon. Get you some and cram it in your face mouth. It's so tasty, too. Oh, damn it, Silent Sophie! This was my shot at sponsored content. Do you have to ruin everything good? Well, I suppose this means we ain't reviewing my previously scheduled movie. So what feculent pile of rhino plop did you find this time? 1989's Beware Children at Play. A small town sees a rash of missing children and strange murders keep happening. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, but we've done this routine long enough that it's probably gonna be fucking awful, so come on, Abraxas, let's get to the viewing room.
Gobble the flesh! Tear it in pieces! Bite through the bones! Gulp the blood!
Abraxas, Sleaze Docket, or whatever.
We have 27 dead bodies, 10 cups blood, 1 naked breast, 1 dead badger, 1 three-legged dog, unwarranted dramatic music, trashy book shaming, 1 shaky bush, 1 feral kid dog pile, 1 sexual assault, 1 gutted father, 1 maggoty wound. It's actually mealworms, but whatever. Violent hammock swingery. Gratuitous Old MacDonald, gratuitous campfire guitar, gratuitous whispering, gratuitous baseball analogies, gratuitous Bible quotes, pie cooling on windowsill cliche, are we there yet cliche, let's split up cliche, you better come take a look at this cliche, 1 teenage beatdown, 1 stoned cop, 1 slit throat, 1 removed liver, I think. 1 removed, still beating heart. 1 skeletonized news reporter. 1 scythe split salesman. Rat chewed face. Running spike impalement. Indeterminate fatal back wound. Bear trap to the ankle. Baseball bat to the foot. Wooden club to the skull. Knife to the thigh. Knife to the back. Axe to the back. Bottle to the head. Rock bashed skull. Arrow to the chest. Gunshot to the chest. Rifle shot skull, rifle shot chest, handgun exploded skull, swallowed handgun blast, pitchfork throat lift, lumber-crushed throat, machete impalement, and kid-approved cannibalism.
I really hate to say this, but I never thought I'd find a movie about cannibalistic children to be so goddamn boring. Beware Children at Play isn't so much a title as it is an actual warning. And the marketing department did a good job leaning into that concept. But I can think of a better sign they should have gone with.
I'd turn back if I were you.
So let's pretend we're early 2000s Tara Reid, ignore all the really obvious warning signs, and jump on into the deep end. Our movie begins with a very young Joey Lawrence running through the woods with dramatic sting music play. It's really not Joey Lawrence, but Christ, this Lego Man helmet hair was so goddamn popular for kids back then. Suddenly a giant widow's peak attacks. Oh, it's just Dad and his kid out camping. This whole section of the film isn't really that awful, so the movie does a great job of tricking us into thinking it's not going to be that bad. The kid's acting is rough, but passable. The dad is pretty okay, kind of convincing at times, but the problem is his character is a pretentious literature teacher, so it's hard to tell if his acting is cringy or Oscar-worthy.
Woods are abloom, the wide world awakens. Happy the mansions, the meadows most fair.
We get fishing, campfire songs, marshmallow roasting, friendly chases through the woods, and well-hidden bear traps. Little Glenn here isn't strong enough to open the trap, and long story short, Dad spends a long time dying while waiting for help to never arrive. His delirious poetry rambling goes heavily on the cannibalism, and eventually he succumbs to his infected wounds. So with a horribly overacted traumatic event fresh in his skull, the kid guts his dad and eats him. 10 years later, we meet up with the delightfully awful DeWolf family. John is a writer, his wife Julia is a naggy bitch, and his daughter Kara, well, she's along for the ride.
You buy me a Barbie doll?
Barbie's not a doll. Barbie is an addiction. You know what Barbie leads to? Barbie hats, Barbie dresses, Barbie houses, who knows, Barbie Kotex. Once Barbie gets you, you're God.
Jesus, who is this guy? The critical drinker? Give him a podcast and a few thousand women-hating incel losers to lord over and he'll be set for fucking life. Basically, John here is driving his family to meet up with his good friend Ross, whose older daughter Amy disappeared 3 years ago. See, John writes about paranormal stuff and thinks of himself as an actual investigator.
I invite my readers to draw their own conclusions.
Oh, a bullshit artist.
But his wife Julia is greatly bothered by the provocative covers his publisher slaps onto the crappy text.
Then why do they need those covers? Girls with cleavages, front and back, being pursued by all manner of ghastly creature.
Is everyone in this movie an insufferable asshole? Anyway, they eventually run into a stranded motorist and actually stop. Franklin here is a Bible salesman. Oh, not because he believes in the word. He's just selling a product to the dim-witted small-town morons that inhabit this section of the state. Also, Franklin is kind of our herald of impending doom, but he's a lot less cliche about it than you might see in other movies.
I'm a messenger of God. You're doomed if you stay here.
He tells of the local town's religious nutbag history and how the current folk are mean and suspicious. And dumb. He also tells of the dozen kids that have suddenly gone missing from town. Eventually, the two cars go their separate ways down the road, but Franklin breaks down again after a very short distance. He manages to notice Farmer Braun, a customer of his, and follows him for help.
Watch out for snakes!
Some ghostly whispers call out from the trees, and suddenly a scythe flies into the shot, splitting Franklin in twain. I mean, the setup is lame, but the final effect is a little cool. John and his crew finally make it to Ross's house, where he finds out the reason for the invite. Ross is the town sheriff and is hoping John's investigative journalism can help solve the mystery of the town's missing children. Ross's investigation has gone absolutely nowhere, and he's hoping that John has made some contacts along the way who might be able to help. But Ross's wife Cleo gets quite upset at him, thinking outside the box.
Mind readers! What are you talking about, Ross Carr? Your daughter is missing. Why aren't you out there looking for her? What kind of father are you anyway?
Everyone is written pretty horribly in this movie, but the women definitely get the worst end of that stick. And this is our first real moment of learning just how stupid John is. His friend calls him up for a visit, and it's not until after John shows up with his family that he learns the town has had dozens of children disappear. I don't know about you, but I would immediately be kind of pissed off at not getting this information sooner. You know, like before loading my own child up into the car, inadvertently putting them into a dangerous situation. Seems like the kind of detail you lead with. Unless you're an asshole. Or a shitty scriptwriter. Anyway, now that we've met the main characters, let's blow through the actual story. The town's grumbling masses aren't happy that the sheriff hasn't gotten anywhere with the missing children investigation. And if you want to know just how stupid the town is, just realize there isn't a single brain cell among them that comes up with the idea of forming their own fucking search party. Roughly 50 people got all day to stand around with their thumbs up their asses, but no time to head into the woods as a team. I mean, we do get some lame attempt to excuse this.
We couldn't cover this forest in 1,000 years.
Bullshit! It's a finite area, lock your arms, and start looking, you assholes. John joins the investigation, but basically doesn't cover any new ground that the local law enforcement hasn't already done. Also, for a town full of missing children, the parents are pretty oblivious about it.
I still get frightened when she's out there.
You can't keep her inside all day, Cleo.
Yes, you fucking can! Because guess what happens literally 40 seconds later?
Where's Mary Rose? She went away with the Woodies. Can I have a cookie?
Finally, John's psychic friend makes it to town.
Don't worry, dearie. I'll pick up the vibrations, like a plant. You know, osmosis.
Is that right? I should check my dictionary.
She's about 7 bricks short of a shithouse and is led into a trap, killed, and eaten almost immediately. Fortunately, a couple of teens are screwing nearby, so we finally get a break in the case. They say the kids were chanting a weird poem while eating human flesh, which tosses a whole bucket of gas onto the smoldering rage building among the townsfolk. And after the initial scythe attack, we do finally get a little bit more blood when the local reporter goes looking for some answers. She finds the corpse of Farmer Braun's wife propped up in a field and covered in rats. She takes off running, and she's Home Alone out of the movie.
Now. You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Julia recognizes the kid's poetic chant as an excerpt from Beowulf, particularly the part about Grendel, a cannibal. Why does this matter? Because a certain Professor Randall, who went missing 10 years ago, taught Anglo-Saxon literature. See? It all makes sense. Wait a minute. Professor Randall, who's in love with Beowulf, named his son Glenn. Glenn Randall. His son's fucking name is G. Randall. Grendel. Julia comes down the stairs with a fresh back wound. What happened? I don't know. But Ross's wife Cleo runs upstairs to find a bunch of kids raiding the toys, and she's attacked. Kind of. Eventually, she's knocked unconscious by a live-action Flintstones club. Now with his wife gone, Farmer Braun starts preaching to the mob. Thankfully, they're all about as sharp as a sack full of used condoms, so they just swallow the whole routine. The only thing missing here is a few red MAGA hats. With their fresh victim, the kids drag Cleo to their camp. While tied up, she manages to get to her feet, but she doesn't get too far. To avoid being spotted, she ducks into a hut that just happens to be the kids' meat storage, and we find out the children have been awfully busy. She's quickly discovered by the pack, and one of the older boys has his way with her while the others watch. Our dynamic duo goes to talk to Farmer Braun, only to find an empty house. Ross gets a call on the radio about a vague problem in town and that he should come back. John decides to hang around and wait to talk to Braun. Great, let's add splitting up to this fucking mess. John takes a little hammock nap and is aggressively rockabied by the kids.
The Outlander must die! Kill!
Oh, come on. You can't be that blatant about what you're clearly trying to rip off.
Outlander, maybe you don't hear so well.
He gets stabbed in the leg and has a little tumble with the leader of the group. He starts calling him Glenn, assuming he's the kid lost at the beginning of the movie. The leader reacts, but a few rocks forces John to run off. He makes it to a barn, climbs a ladder, and pulls it up behind him, which is exactly what you expect an asshole boomer to do. Ross makes it back in town and finds a mildly tepid crowd of sleepy crackers working themselves into a bland lather. Missing kids, no leads, and they can't even manage a harumph.
You can't tell us nothing.
Tell him, sire.
You never answer nothing. You don't catch nothing.
Yeah.
You're kind of an all-around nut.
Howard Johnson is right.
Back at the barn, the kids send John a Mia Goth piñata. Oh wait, that's the leftovers from the reporter they ate. Eventually, one of the older girls puts another ladder in place and climbs out. Turns out, it's Ross's older daughter, Amy. But these days she goes by Wealthy-ow and is all hot for Grendel, apparently.
We are demons, cast out and cursed, damned exiles. We are angry and eager to kill.
Fucking theater kids. Ross makes it back and John tries to warn him, but the kids swarm all over him, bashing him with rocks, clubs, and knives. John manages to make a break for it while the kids are field dressing the sheriff or whatever, and he manages to find the reporter's car, conveniently taken to the barn, and with the convenient keys left conveniently inside. He makes it back to town where Farmer Braun is still preaching to the gentle crowd. And with the sun starting to come up, he's now been at this fucking routine for several hours. Just exactly how long does it take to whip up an angry mob of stupid fucks? Braun insists that God is calling on them to purge the darkness, even though John swears it's just a boy who was lost 10 years ago leading their children. He takes off, and since he's now an outcast like her, apparently, Amy tells him the location of the camp and that he might see the ceremony at dawn. What he finds is a loose collection of tents and structures and a group of children chanting over Cleo. Glenn stabs her with a knife and pulls out a still beating heart. John calls out to Glenn, and the two have a rough and tumble fight, but the other children make it look like a game of red light, green light. Suddenly, the camp is surrounded by the angry mob armed to the frickin' teeth. See? As soon as these fucking pricks got up off their soggy bottom boys, they immediately find the kids. A whole goddamn decade of missing children solved 5 pissing seconds into their search. Anyway, we're all sitting here thinking, there's no way these people are gonna kill these kids. And you'd be wrong. They fucking slaughter the entire goddamn camp. And I'm guessing I can't show most of it on YouTube. So I'll try to describe the sequence. John starts out trying to appeal to the mob's humanity and gets shot in the head for it. The kids all scatter, but are quickly cut down. Some kids just fall to the ground after a gunfire sound effect. But others actually have blood packs and squibs to simulate being shot. One kid gets his throat impaled with a potato fork and pinned in the air against the wall. One has his throat smashed by lumber. Some are shot with arrows. One is run clear through with a machete. One kid gets his head blown to pieces, scanner style, and another kid has a fucking handgun shoved down his throat, and we watch his gray matter spray across the wall behind him. The whole thing is about 2 solid minutes of filicide. And now that the mildly perturbed mob's bloodlust has been slaked, they mildly saunter off to go back to their mild lives. The camera cuts to John's dead body as it starts to move. That's when we see he fell on top of his daughter and kept her safe from being killed. She quietly heads off to hungrily groan over a juicy rabbit. And we roll the goddamn credits. There's really no kind way of saying this. This movie was just a painful, boring chore. Mostly because the acting was about what I would expect from a 4th grade theater production of Death of a Salesman. Practically nobody in it was up to the task of carrying their performances, and the movie was too dialogue heavy in spite of it. Basically, they had no shortage of opportunities to showcase just how little talent they had. And I know I'm being the asshole here, expecting a trauma movie to step up to the plate. But come on, if you can't deliver dialogue, then don't make a dialogue-heavy movie. There's a little gore along the way, but the vast majority of it is saved for the final sequence, and by that point, it's too little too late. Even in its excessiveness, the payoff is not worth the time spent getting to it. I honestly would have greatly preferred a movie that spread the final gore around instead of saving it up for a shocking conclusion. This is definitely an example of a movie that didn't see enough of the cutting room floor. This one clocks in at 94 minutes, but there's absolutely no reason it couldn't have seen 20 to 30 minutes trimmed from the runtime. And the movie doesn't waste any time giving us a prime example of how terrible and unnecessary the dialogue is. When we introduce the DeWolf family, there's a moment when Julia is talking about the books that John writes, mostly about how the covers are trashy, garish attention grabbers. It really feels like they were trying to create a climate of a rocky marriage before they even get to town. But it's so clunky and poorly written, it's just a terrible waste of time. And it never even comes into play later on. Just an argument in the car, a follow-up in bed, and then basically the two don't have any real scenes together again. This argument literally has no connection or bearing to the entire story. Or if it does, I was too goddamn bored to notice. Also, these types of movies always come with the question, why don't they just leave? As there's usually something preventing them from just packing up and fucking off down the road. There is absolutely nothing keeping John from grabbing his wife and daughter and just leaving at almost any point in the movie. They could have gone the lazy route and had the kids sabotage the cars. Like, just the standard, "We're leaving right now." Car doesn't start. Pop the hood. "Oh no, my distributor lugs have been gapped and the semi-flange rotator timing belt has been cut. The bastards!" Or, maybe John's had a string of poorly selling books and his publisher is about to cut him off if he doesn't deliver something new. So in his desperation, he stays in town to get the details of the story. Either of those would have been better than the nothing we actually get. Honestly, the biggest problem with this movie is that it doesn't do anything to build tension. They spend the entire movie just talking, and it's so boring it doesn't prime us for the shocking conclusion. Think about a movie like Terrifier, or Terrifier 2. The film really doesn't hold back in showing us that Art the Clown is a dangerous individual, and we start anticipating something really bad coming. So we bind up and tense up, waiting for that gut punch to finally land. But it's because we're already tensed up that when that gut punch does finally hit, we're already drained from expecting it, so the shocking moment hits way harder than if it just happened out of nowhere. I mean, most of us have no problem lifting a 25-pound dumbbell, but if you just spent an hour curling 20 pounds, suddenly lifting 25 pounds hits differently. Suddenly it feels impactful. We might still be able to handle it, but it feels like so much more. Beware does none of this. Or if it tried to do this, it failed. So when the shocking moment finally happens, we're more confused by the tonal switch than we are impacted by the violence. In fact, compared to the rest of the movie, I found it almost slapstick and silly rather than shocking. No surprise, I cannot give this one my recommendation. If you're curious about the shocking conclusion, you could just skip to the last 15 to 20 minutes and call it a day. However, I always go with the philosophy that it's your time to spend however you wish. I'm only making trashy recommendations. Your opinions may and will vary greatly. So toss another moldy movie onto the mulch pile. Ugh. Here's hoping I can go out and find something a little more entertaining for the next video. And until I greet you then, this is your soggy sidekick Sugar Pants. See you in your dreams.
Ross, get in the car! They're here all over! What? No!